What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. I always wondered, after the first Pacific Rim came out, if this would become a long-standing franchise. It had feels of, Transformers along with other movies, and there was a lot of people out there that really enjoyed the first Pacific Rim. And then when the second one released, guys, I think that people at this point can all agree that it was somewhat of a downgrade from the first movie. But nonetheless, there's a lot of people really wondering and clamoring for more Pacific Rim at some point or another in the future. So what I wanted to talk about, guys, in this first segment of the show is everything that we know so far about Pacific Rim 3. So let's get into it. In an article, guys, that was written by Biplab Mazumber of the Cinemaholic, Pacific Rim 3. And when Pacific Rim released in 2013, it seemed to tickle us mortals a never-ending primal urge to be awed by big spectacles. It catered to the same domain as to what the Transformers franchise has been doing for years. But unlike the aforementioned franchise, Pacific Rim seemed to combine brawn with the brain. It is proud of its ridiculousness and unabashedly flourishes on an enormous scale. In a way, Pacific Rim did what many modern-day Transformers and Godzilla adaptations couldn't do with their giant characters. A huge part of the movie's success goes to its visionary director, Guillermo del Toro. It just goes to show how even a theme as ridiculous as giant robots fighting giant monsters in order to save the Earth can be fully entertaining and satisfying under capable hands. After Pacific Rim's resounding success, the second movie came out in 2018. Even though it didn't exactly replicate both the critical and commercial success of the predecessor, it still wasn't a major flop anyway. It suffered the loss of major cast members of the first one, and changing hands in the direction also didn't help either. So what I'll say, guys, is from the first Pacific Rim to the second one, the one thing that kind of bothered me was not only the director. Sometimes having a director direct the same series for a period of time sometimes isn't a good thing, but I think I would have liked to see Del Toro have continued this franchise. But nonetheless, one thing that bothered me more than having Del Toro step down from the director's chair was actually the fact that Charlie Hunnam and other actors ended up not wanting to be a part of the second, Pacific Rim. Now, obviously, guys, we've had some other, new characters that came into the second movie, Uprising, and, I think that they're good actors like John Boyega and such, but I would say that there's something about when you're trying to establish a franchise, you really want to have things that feel very familiar, and that being like characters and such. That's one thing that I think that they kind of a big misstep that they made. So what happened to Pacific Rim, guys? So Pacific Rim tells a story of kaiju battles in epic proportions, but it's not just a mindless action flick. At its heart, Pacific Rim contains relatable characters with tangible emotional crisis. The movie imagines a world where a breach beneath the Pacific Ocean acts as a gateway to Earth for extraterrestrial beings, the kaijus. To save Earth, humans create massive Jaegers, but more often than not, kaijus get better of the robots. These huge robots are controlled by two pilots who are connected by a neutral link. Charlie Hunnam, he played a washed-up relay Beckett, an ex-Jaeger pilot who lost his fellow pilot and his brother Yancey in Kaiju battle. He is fighting with his demons when he's forced out of retirement as Kaiju threats are becoming unbearable. Idris Elba, he plays Marshal Stacker Pentecost, the commander of Jaeger Base, and Rinko Kikuchi plays Mako Mori, Stacker's adopted daughter. So Pacific Rim was a lot of fun, but in a weird way, it also made you invest in the story, which normally doesn't happen in ridiculous monster fights, robots, movies. The success of the movie translated into the huge expectations for Pacific Rim Uprising. The sequel differed from the first two major aspects, and that made all the difference. Firstly, Del Toro wasn't the one on the director's chair anymore. Instead, he was a producer. Stephen S. DeKnight, who did Daredevil and Spartacus, was a great addition, but he was no Del Toro. However, the biggest blow is the absence of the Hunnan's relay. Still, the story attempts to be bigger and bolder than the first one. And John Boyega, guys, he did a fine job, but I gotta say that even though there was a lot of backlash, I didn't like the movie nearly as much as the first one. Probably a lot of it had to do with the direction, but also I think a lot of it had to do with just different characters, and it's just kind of, you start getting a little bit disconnected when things like that happen. Now, the movie wasn't quite a disappointment, but it traded almost on similar grounds just as the first one, but on a much larger scale. It was still wildly fun. The VFX action sequences and technological marvels were extraordinary, and the performances of the leads were also satisfactory. The ending of the movie, however, sets up some more interesting things for the future. And I agree. I thought the VFX were really good. I thought that, yeah, they tried to make it bigger and better, but it just didn't seem to land on all of those areas. Now, what is Pacific Rim 3 going to be about? The ending of Uprising is what excites me the most. After Newton is captured, he warns that precursors won't stop and that more threats are coming. Jake ends the movie by saying that this time humans will take the fight to them. In literal English, precursors themselves will have to face humans and their Jaegers, as the third movie will see them traveling through the breach. The intention to take the battle to the world of precursors can have multiple interesting repercussions. In the dominant enemy land, the pilots and Jaegers will be in a survival mode. In a way, it can bring a lot of memories of the Alien franchise and in a good way. The tense narrative, the survivalist instincts, the massive overwhelming aliens can be a few things that can affect the psychological equilibrium of the human characters. So, one of the big things, guys, that people really want Charlie Hunnam and his character to come back. I would agree. I'd love to see that kind of come full circle in the third movie. I just feel that if Charlie Hunnam and them, they probably were asked to do the second movie, and they probably said they didn't want to do it if Del Toro wasn't the director, if there wasn't, a really prestigious director doing the second one. So I don't know if they're going to get Charlie Hunnam back. I hope they would do, but it's hard to say. As far as the cast, Jake Pentecost will be at the forefront of the fight against the precursors, so John Boyega will definitely return. Mako Mori's death in the second movie was a devastating moment, but the makers have shown interest in continuing Mako's story. So if Mako is not actually dead, or if they can somehow bring her back, then Rinko Kikuchi can make a comeback too. And then we are really hoping for Hunnam to return too. Charlie Day will obviously be there, and so will Gorman. So obviously, guys, I think everybody wants Charlie Hunnam's character back, but that remains to be seen. So when will this movie most likely come out? The first two movies have a gap of 5 years between them. So even if the next one doesn't follow the same formula, 2020 still seems way too early for the movie. After the less than stellar performance of Uprising, makers will want to trade cautiously and definitely won't hurry things up. The third one has a rich story to tell, that too in a more expansive capacity, so we can expect Pacific Rim 3 to release in 2021 or in 2022. However, there hasn't been any official confirmation from the people involved yet. So, at the end of the day, guys, I think that we will see Pacific Rim 3 most likely in the next couple of years, I would say. I would say, guys, that especially with the pandemic going on, things have all been pushed back, that being production from releases and all of those different things. The industry has been affected in a major way. And so I would say, guys, even if they had the initial concepts and such of Pacific Rim 3, most likely those things are all getting pushed back. So I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we have to wait another 3 to 5 years for this movie to actually come out because of the pandemic. I would have said a little bit sooner, but even with the kind of mediocre reception in reviews and such, and then on top of that, as far as the money is concerned, it cost them about, I think, between $150 to $170 million to make Pacific Rim Uprising, and then they made $290 million. But at the end of the day, that $150 to $170 to make the movie in the first place doesn't even take into consideration all the marketing going into it. So they probably didn't make as much as they were hoping. Let's just put it that way. So it's hard to say how much money they would put into a Pacific Rim 3. It's a very, tough question. But at this point, guys, nothing's really been confirmed, and this is all pretty much speculation. But these are the things that we know so far about Pacific Rim 3, and a lot of it, like I said, is speculation, not knowing where they're going to go with the story. Is Charlie Hunnam's character coming back? Who knows, guys? But let me know in the comment section below, what are you guys most excited about in Pacific Rim 3? What do you think they need to do in order to kind of rewrite the ship in the right direction so you can start getting some good critical reception? There's been a lot of talk that Pacific Rim is going to try to join the MonsterVerse, that being with like Godzilla and King Kong, which I think would actually be really good. It's kind of a cheesy story. So if you took that and you put it into Godzilla and King Kong, it would feel so real at the same time because of it being in the MonsterVerse. It would be so much more relatable almost. So I kind of hope that ends up happening. But let me know what you guys want to see. And for more Pacific Rim 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. We've talked on the YouTube channel on a number of occasions about a lot of the dinosaur-based games that have come out in the past, guys, that being like Dino Crisis, Turok, so on and so forth. Well, a new game that's coming out, guys, is called Second Extinction, and this is one that for those of you who are huge Turok fans or were big into the Dino Crisis franchise, this might be the next best thing for you as far as a game that, of course, has a lot of dinosaurs. And if you don't end up, if you aren't really big into playing Ark, this might be something that, you might want to check out. So in this segment of the show, guys, I want to talk about everything that we know so far about Second Extinction. So let's get into it. So guys, in an article that was written by Samuel Tolbert of Windows Central, take Earth back from some serious apex predators. At the May 7 Inside Xbox Showcase for third-party Xbox Series X games, one game was revealed that's all about gunning down dinosaurs. Titled Second Extinction, this game is being developed and published by Systemic Reaction, a subsidiary of Avalanche Studios. This first-person three-player co-op game tasks players with hunting down mutated dinosaurs that have taken over the Earth. So, what is this game, guys? Second Extinction is a first-person, three-player co-op game. It takes place in a world where mutated dinosaurs have conquered the Earth. The last of humanity survives on an orbital station managed by a group called ERA. Now the survivors have begun the extinction war to take Earth back. So number one, guys, obviously this sounds really, really intriguing right off the bat. Now, one thing that I'm a little bit hesitant here is obviously being first person, I'm fine with that. That's totally cool. But a three-player co-op, I love co-op being a side, like kind of, having like side missions or being able to play co-op, having that option. But I don't know if I like that it's specific to co-op. Are you able to play single player? Are you able to play multiplayer? Or is it just a co-op experience? That's going to do a lot to this entire game as a whole, in my opinion. So, as far as the gameplay trailers and the features, this is a Systemic Reaction's first game. So the first game, Systemic Reaction, is a 35-person team. You can follow the developers, of course, on Twitter. The game is being developed on the Apex engine, Avalanche's in-house technology. Instead of being open world, it's described as having a big map. Systemic open world features have been blended with traditional level design. And of course, guys, they had the announcement trailer, which if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It looks pretty intriguing, to say the least. What I will say, though, is there's things about this that kind of concern me versus a game like Turok or something that has, obviously has a single-player story and such, but the fact that it's not like open world, it seems like it's more of like a big map, so maybe it's got like semi-open world or something, which is okay in my opinion, because this would be like the first of potentially a franchise here if they do really well, so it'll be something interesting. It's Systemic's Reactions is their first game, so that's something else to kind of take in consideration, guys, here. They may not want to go way outside the box and do things out of their comfort zone, that being like multiplayer and just a single-player story. Having co-op might be the way that they're, kind of feeling it. Similar to like games like GTFO, they kind of liked having like the co-op based game. And I know a lot of games nowadays are doing the co-op style, so I totally understand it. Now, 3 heroes and 4 mutated dinosaurs have been revealed so far. Systemic Reaction plans to have a 4th hero available by the game's release. with more being added post-launch. So their second extinction heroes, Ortega, Rosie, and Amir. And then the second extinction dinosaurs are Raptor, Acid Raptor, Electric Raptor, and T-Rex. Now, look. The one thing that bothers me about the dinosaurs is 3 out of the 4 that they've revealed are raptors. And so, not saying that that's a bad thing, but man, they must really like raptors over there, over at Systemic Reaction. I just don't know. I like having variety. And so they might just want to be in their comfort zone here. Maybe Raptors are just in their comfort zone. They want to stick with things that are, pretty basic, pretty cookie cutter, so that because it's their first, game that they've ever made. And so it's maybe important to them to kind of just keep things in a box where they feel like they have confidence in. And so, that being said, a beta, guys, if you're interested in signing up for the second Extinction beta, you can do so. And be aware, though, that the beta is PC only. I have not played the beta myself, guys. Is it coming out for PS4? As of right now, no. Second Extinction has only been announced for the Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and PC. It is possible the game is a timed exclusive and will come to other platforms later, though. So it seems like it's just another one of those Xbox exclusives. Xbox is making a very aggressive approach to have a ton of exclusive games coming out on their console, which is very smart in my opinion, but it looks like if you're a PlayStation user, you're going to have to probably wait a while. Maybe you may never even be able to play this game on PlayStation. So, it's coming to Xbox One, guys. So, while Second Extinction was revealed as part of the Xbox Series X showcase, it's also going to be available on current generation hardware. Since it supports smart delivery, if you buy the Xbox One version, but then later play on Xbox Series X, you'll get a free upgrade, which is really awesome. And I wonder if this is going to be available on Xbox Game Pass and such, guys. That's kind of something that might be, something I would like to find out at some point or another if they plan on bringing it to Xbox Game Pass, because it's an exclusive, so why wouldn't they do something like that? But this is exciting that it's at least coming on Xbox One, because not all the casual gamers out there are going to buy the Xbox Series X right when it comes out. Some people will, but others may just wait, right? And so it's nice to have games that still come out on Xbox One as you're going into that slow transition to the Xbox Series X. As far as the release date, guys, Second Extinction does not have a release date or even a release window at this time. Whenever it does release, it'll be available on Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and PC. So there you have it. Guys, I gotta say, this is another one of those games that, of course, was at that, that Inside Xbox event or showcase that I'm really intrigued by. It reminds me a little bit of Turok. It reminds me a little bit of like a Dino Crisis or even an Ark, right? Survival Evolved. It reminds me kind of like of those games. The graphics look great. I think the graphics look awesome. Basically, most of the games, guys, that were shown off at the Xbox Inside Xbox Showcase look really good. This looks really good for a dinosaur game. There's just a couple question marks I have. Is it only going to be co-op? Are you not going to be able to just play by yourself? Are you not going to be able to play multiplayer? Is it only going to be co-op? And then, are you going to have just basically the same types of dinosaurs you're fighting the entire time throughout the entire single-player or co-op story? Those are question marks that I'm kind of wondering about. And we'll just have to kind of wait and see as more information comes out. I'll be sure to keep you guys all posted as more information comes out. But let me know what you guys are most excited about with Second Extinction. Are you guys going to check out this game? Have you been able to get play the beta at this point? What are you most excited about? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Second Extinction content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. The hype is building for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I gotta say, guys, that I'm excited about this entry. Look, this is one of my favorite franchises out there, and I, of course, am very intrigued and excited when a new Assassin's Creed game gets announced, and then, we get to try it out, and I'm hoping that this game, even though it looks gorgeous as far as the graphics and such, it looks great as far as from a graphical standpoint. It looks like a little more of the same. That's kind of continuing what they were starting with Origins and Odyssey, which I hope I'm wrong because I didn't really find those two games really great when it came to the Assassin's Creed franchise. But nonetheless, guys, what I want to get into is the top 5 things that we want in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And when I say we, guys, I'm going to be talking mainly myself here. I know some of you are going to share the same opinions, but if you don't, let me know in the comment section down below as to what you guys want to see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And like I said, before really getting into this, that I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed. I've been overly critical, though, of the last couple of installments in this game. I felt like it's kind of gone away from the formula. It's kind of changed in a number of ways, in my personal opinion. And we'll kind of get into where I think they need to kind of change that with Valhalla. And I don't know if they're going to, guys. It's hard to say at this point. All we really got was, of course, that announcement trailer. But nonetheless, let's get right into this thing. So at number 1, guys, as far as the things that I want in Assassin's Creed Valhalla is I want Ubisoft, and I want this game in particular to go back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. And what I mean by that, guys, and I've said this basically ad nauseum at this point on the YouTube channel. If you guys have watched my other Assassin's Creed videos on here, you know that as of late, they've kind of gone away from the formula. Reminds me somewhat of what happened in Call of Duty. And once again, it feels like this, something similar here with Assassin's Creed. And what I'm getting at here, guys, is that they have chosen action over stealth. And stealth is what really made this series what it is. I mean, it's really was created this entire franchise based around stealth that had action elements, but then it changed to being an action RPG that had very minimal stealth elements to it. So I think what they need to do is go back to what made this series so great in the first place. That being stealth-oriented, assassin-like gameplay that, of course, has, the assassins, man, the order, the guys with the hoods and using stealth, jumping into straw and just, bales of straw and things of that nature, guys, that blending into, crowds and being able to climb extremely quickly up buildings and such. Those are the things that they need to bring back. Now, obviously, guys, in the Viking era, I'm not sure exactly what that would look like, but what I'm getting at here is having more stealth elements than the all-out action like they've had in Odyssey and Origins. And so, even if they kind of prefer the action, at least have some stealth elements. And then I would say, as long as you're in this story arc, which we'll get here to in a sec, as long as the story arc kind of leads us back to where, back to the Assassin's Creed, because it just felt like it's kind of gone away from all of that. So that's number 1, guys, is go back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. Go back to that stealth-based, gameplay. Go back to, just the Creed. Go back to the Creed as a whole. It feels like they've kind of just gone away from that. So that's number 1. Number 2, guys, is to tie, as far as the story of Valhalla, I want this to tie into the overarching story of Assassin's Creed. Now, whether that means going back to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or if they're kind of leading us to Assassin's Creed 5, potentially, I just want them to tie this story into the rest of the Assassin's Creed games. And what I mean by the other Assassin's Creed games, I mean the older games. I want them to really tie this whole thing together somewhat, because it just has felt that over the years, we've been getting so many Assassin's Creed titles that a lot of times it's starting to get convoluted, the story and such. It's starting to, the direction of it, it feels like it has an identity crisis at times. And so I feel like they need to kind of get back to tying this story into the overarching story so that we understand where they're trying to go. Even if there's some mystery, which I'm totally fine with. I love mystery in games, guys, and in movies, but when it comes to Assassin's Creed, you have to bring it kind of full circle here. Make it make us understand a little bit the direction they're trying to go in, and maybe lead us into the future here with Assassin's Creed 5 or whatever the next installment may be. Then, guys, coming in at number 3, I have said for a long time, guys, on the YouTube channel that it's incredibly important to have more ways than one to connect with the franchise, and Assassin's Creed is no different. After you're done playing the single-player story, what is it that you do with Assassin's Creed? Do you typically go and play it over again, and then you go ahead and you go for all the side missions, side quests, whatever the case might be? and then, beat the story on a harder difficulty, and then you kind of move on to a different game? What is it that you do after you're done playing Assassin's Creed? What I think is Ubisoft, this being one of their flagship titles, pretty much their flagship title, I think it's important that they have people coming back. So having co-op modes and multiplayer modes are key, guys. They did it with like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. They kind of implemented some very interesting concepts in the multiplayer side of things. I think that they could do something similar to that, maybe even something else. Something that could be special and unique to the Assassin's Creed franchise, maybe even adding some new, like some game modes that are kind of standard across the entire industry at large, guys, like Team Deathmatch and things of that nature in the multiplayer scope, because why not? It's going to keep players coming back to Assassin's Creed and having, earnable items and things of that nature within the multiplayer, within the co-op modes. Gets you to play with your friends, gets you to play by yourself in the single player story, gets you to play some co-op missions as well as multiplayer. So make it a full package deal, so when you're paying that $60, makes it a lot more, something that's very, much more intriguing, something that you definitely want to buy because of all the different ways you can connect with the franchise. Then guys, coming in, and number 4 is don't force side missions on players. I think that that's something that, guys, has incredibly has bothered me in a significant way in the last couple Assassin's Creed games, where you'll be playing the main story, you're getting kind of you're starting to get kind of engulfed and getting really excited about the direction that they're going in the story, and you're like kind of just really kind of getting into that main story, and then all of a sudden they say you can't continue the main story without doing side missions. That is something that really bothered me, and this isn't just the only game that's done this. Other games have done it, like Far Cry, and there's been other games, guys, and franchises out there that have done this, and I understand the concept here. They want you to play the entire game, but at the end of the day, guys, I think it's more important to add more content outside of the single player story, because then we have other ways that we can connect, and you're not just sitting there doing the missions and the side missions, and then you're done with the game as a whole. So I think really making those side missions kind of go at your own pace. You don't have to do them, but there's something that you go at your own pace, or after you beat the game, then you do the side missions to understand the whole story as a whole. So leave it up to the players as to what we want to do, whether we want to do the side missions as we're going through the main story or we do them later on. And then coming in last but not least, guys, is at number 5, enabling earnable items over monetization in your game. Whether you're talking the single player story, co-op modes, or multiplayer, having earnable items over the monetization side. Now, I'm not saying that monetization tactics and such are something that that are gonna just disappear, not gonna be in this game at all. That would just be, obviously, guys, that's something that's going to most likely be there, right? Because it's pretty standard across most games out there in the landscape of gaming. But what I'm getting at here is when you're playing the multiplayer, you're playing the single player story or co-op modes, you want things that you can earn, earnable items, because it brings you back. It gets you like addicted to the game because you want to earn things. Monetization tactics are just basically pay to, to get cosmetic items and such, which can be cool on your characters and such, but earnable items, having them separate from the monetization items, is something that is really important in my personal opinion. And basically, guys, every game, like I said, nowadays has monetization, tactics and such that they use. And we all have become kind of accustomed to it in one way, shape, or form. But I think we've gotten away, that being the developers, and even us as fans have kind of gotten away from really asking for more earnable items. So I think that's one thing that we really got to ask for moving into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I hope that they decide to go ahead and do that, where you're earning things for your character, earning like titles and emblems like next to your name while you're in lobbies and such. is really awesome as well. Gets you coming back to the game and you want to keep on going up that, that bar, so to speak, of all the different things that you can earn. So those guys were the top 5 things that I want to see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What are your top 5 things? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. I know I'm not alone when I say that I really want to see a Titanfall 3 for a number of reasons, guys, which I'll get to here in a second. But I know a lot of you out there have been hoping to see a continuation of Titanfall. And of course, as you were hoping for a Titanfall 3 game to be released, we got Apex Legends, which, look, guys, at the end of the day, regardless of whether you like Apex or you hate it, here's what Apex Legends did for Titanfall. Number one, guys, Apex Legends basically really brought a ton of eyeballs to the Titanfall universe. Even though it's not called Titanfall, it's within that universe, and it's bringing a ton of eyeballs there, which is actually helping Titanfall as we speak. Now, what I'm getting at is if a Titanfall 3 does release, and we're going to get to why it needs to exist, if they bring out a Titanfall 3, because of the success of Apex Legends, they have a way that they can market Titanfall 3 through Apex Legends, which is going to really help with promoting Titanfall 3, and it's going to get a lot of people to try it out and see how it ties into the overarching story and just Apex Legends as a whole. So what I want to talk about, though, more in particular here with Titanfall 3, guys, why this game should exist. So let's get into it. So guys, Apex Legends, I'm just gonna say it. Look, I think it was great that Apex Legends came out when it did. It was gonna be, of course, the next BR that came out that was really going to rival Fortnite. Now, obviously, Call of Duty had Blackout that came out. Didn't really rival Fortnite that much. It kind of was there for a little bit. But Apex really was that rival for a while. And what that did was people were wondering, what is this game all about? It kind of released out of nowhere. And people start doing a little bit of some research, start digging about it. It's all within the Titanfall universe, which was awesome. And so even though I'm not a very good Apex Legends player, I'm just not very good at the game, I really respect it. I love what they did here, Respawn did here for Titanfall, because Titanfall, it really, unfortunately, has just not been as big as it really should have been. And I think that there's a couple of reasons, guys. Number one is, releasing Titanfall around the same time as Battlefield and Call of Duty are coming out is not the smartest decision. Now, we all know that Vince Ampella, obviously, he used to work for, Infinity Ward, that being, in the Call of Duty universe, and obviously, he didn't, not on really good terms with them. So he probably wanted to release it and try to show them just how wrong they were for getting rid of him. And it kind of backfired in his face. Now with Apex, he's kind of showing everybody that, hey, you know what? I'm still here. Jedi Fallen Order, I'm still here. And now with a Titanfall 3, if you market it well enough with Apex Legends, and also, just think about it. Titanfall 3 being released at a different time of year could do very well for Respawn and EA as a whole. And so, number one, guys, if you're going to at least do a trilogy here with Titanfall, round it out with Titanfall 3, okay? They've made 2 games up to this point. One of those games had no campaign at all. It was only a multiplayer experience, which I think was another thing that really hurt this franchise. You got one game that comes out, ends up only being a multiplayer experience. Then you got another game that's trying to compete against Battlefield and Call of Duty in the exact same month. It's just unfortunate things, but also just not really smart things at the same time. I think the multiplayer only mode makes a little more sense than trying to go up against juggernauts that are already established, like Call of Duty as well as Battlefield. But nonetheless, guys, here's what I think. Titanfall 3 should exist because of the success of Apex Legends. It should exist because in this next edition of the franchise, you could have a great, continue that story, continue the lore of Titanfall. You could also continue building upon this universe that they've started. And sure, it kind of has had peaks and valleys, but with Apex Legends there, this is really going to help this franchise move forward in a major way. And I mean, the multiplayer, from a multiplayer perspective, from a single player perspective, from a co-op perspective, this could be something special. Even in esports perspective, guys, something that another EA title, Battlefield, still doesn't have a solid esports picture there. Titanfall could absolutely have that. They're already kind of doing it with Apex Legends, and Titanfall 3, they could absolutely do this, which would really make Titanfall 3 go to a mainstream type of place where it could be the game that, is competing against other shooters out there and could be one of the staples as far as shooters are concerned. Because I really believe, guys, to this point, it never really got a solid shot. Because when people go into a purchase with a video game, and they got their spending dollars, not everyone is going to go ahead and spend money on a Battlefield as well as Call of Duty and another title like Titanfall all in the same month, all right? It just isn't realistic. So I think, Titanfall 3 needs to be kind of have its own month, not later in the year, maybe like in the summer. They launch it in the summer because Battlefield and Titanfall are EA titles, so why would you be releasing those near each other in the first place is mind-blowing to myself. But nonetheless, Titanfall 3 needs to exist, guys, and it should exist because it's something different, it's something special. Look, Call of Duty almost tried to copy Titanfall with the wall running and such when Call of Duty went into this, very futuristic standpoint, and they, of course, sold well because it's Call of Duty, but I considered it to be the dark ages of COD because it kind of went away from the formula. Whereas with Titanfall, this is the formula, and I think that they can do it very well. And so I think that they should build on that. Build on your success of Apex Legends. Sure, you've got Apex. It's a free-to-play game. Keep updating it, but also be working on Titanfall 3 that can continue building upon the legacy and the lore, the story, the multiplayer experiences, the potential esports side of things in the Titanfall universe. Guys, there's just so many different ways that you could connect with Titanfall, and this could really help it become an actual staple in the first-person shooter genre as a whole, where it is, like, you talk about the big three, or even now the big four in the first-person shooter genre. I mean, you've got CSGO, obviously, you've got Call of Duty, you've got Battlefield, and then Apex could be, or Titanfall as an entire franchise, including Apex, could be your next thing, right? Those could be your big four games in the first-person shooter space. And obviously, Valorant now is coming, and we don't know really how big that's going to be. It's probably going to be pretty big, though. So what I'm getting at here is Titanfall deserves to exist, guys, and continue as a franchise set aside from that of Apex Legends. But let me know, guys, does Titanfall 3 deserve to exist? Should it exist? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Titanfall 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.